Welcome to a podcast presented by PlayMichigan. That's how creative we are here. My name is Paul Costanzo, managing editor of PlayMichigan.com, joined by Drew Ellis, lead writer, also at PlayMichigan.com. Drew, how are you feeling today?
Fantastic. It's a beautiful day out. Everything's going just great, Paul.
It is going just great. I'm going to get your blood pressure going a little bit later in this recording. But we're talking all things sports betting, online casinos in the state of Michigan. But today, this week, the big thing that we have going, college football lines are out. As you put it in the story, we're less than 100 days away from the start of college football season. For me, college football season is always too short, always too far away. So I'm excited about this. But some of these lines, these future odds that came out, I just kind of want to take a look at them with you, starting with the win totals, because I saw some people on Twitter earlier Tuesday were really pouring over those. But Michigan at 9.5, Michigan State at 7.5. Do you feel those? I'm not asking you to make a pick. Do you feel those are fair?
I do think they're fair, just starting with Michigan, given kind of what they're losing on defense. I think there's a lot of question marks about just how good that defense is going to be able to hold up. The offense should still have some pretty good weapons to work with. So I think 9.5 is pretty fair. There's definitely some toss-up games there. Michigan State, I think last year the odds makers realized how much they shortchanged Mel Tucker and his excellent recruiting and bringing in some transfers. So I think they're realized this year we probably need to give them a little more respect. 7.5 is a good number because losing Kenneth Walker, maybe relying more on the pass game. It should be interesting to see how Michigan State evolves with that and if they can kind of maintain their status as a contender in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think that those numbers are probably, again, like you, pretty fair. I did see that Michigan, the juice is kind of pushing it toward they're favoring the over. I think it's minus 130 on the over at 9.5. I don't know. This is the big thing. I mean, obviously Jim Harbaugh silenced a lot of critics last year, but of course it's always, what have you done for me lately in sports? And so the next thing is, can you repeat it? Can you do it again without the number 2 pick in the draft? Can you get that offense going maybe to a point where it takes the next step with, whether it's JJ McCarthy or Cade McNamara, who, as you pointed out, are both listed in the Heisman Trophy odds. That's probably not a hedge you want to make, Michigan fans, by the way. Don't pick both of them. No, I don't think that's going to work out well for you.
Can you split the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, I don't know. If Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush weren't allowed to split the Heisman Trophy, I don't think that anybody will be. But yeah, Michigan State 7.5. Honestly, when I first saw it, my initial reaction was that's low. But again, I think that there's a lot of games on that schedule that are tough. There's a lot of toss-up games, and you mentioned missing Kenneth Walker. He was such a big part of that team, and I think normally we think of losing a quarterback is the biggest issue for teams coming back the next season, typically. But he was their offense essentially. Like, he was, anytime they needed anything, they went to him. So that's going to be tough to replace. I think that they're pretty good, close to where those numbers should be.
Yeah. And not behind a great offensive line either. Like, it's not like they're returning some powerhouse offensive. Walker was almost a one-man show. So, and one thing with Michigan too to note is odds makers are pretty wary of Michigan's loyalty fan base. They tend to come out and put the money down on Michigan. So I'm guessing that's why you're seeing that juice kind of go toward the 10, because Michigan fans just do it. And now last year it burned them, but the sports books have probably been winning pretty well on those fan bases the last decade. So
yeah, totals are fine and good for me. I think that obviously they come out with them around now, sometime in the spring. People get all excited about it. They're looking at their teams coming off of spring football, recruiting classes are signed, all that fun stuff, right? Early lines are, I don't know if hilarious is the right word, ridiculous. Michigan is an 8-point favorite, for instance, against Michigan State, right? If you feel confident jumping on an 8-point spread this far away from the season.
For a mid-season football game, no idea who might be available, might not.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're betting on midweek college or mid-season college football, or even the Michigan Ohio State game already, you might want to just take a step back and just analyze what you're doing. Future bets are one thing. Betting on an actual game line before any games are played, that's risky. That is a risky.
It is, and I can see week one. I can see that, like, you know, the Ohio State Notre Dame line, 13.5 points. Ohio State is favored. As a diehard Notre Dame fan, I almost feel like that's not enough. But but that makes sense to me. It's week one. It's the next game. We kind of have an idea, or we'll have about as much idea going into that week as we do now, because we don't know how some of the freshmen are going to come in. We don't know how these teams are really going to line up. But by October and November, you're going to have a lot more information on how that game's going to go. Now, I do remember last year, there was a Michigan State fan who picked them, like, all of their early spreads sometime in the summer. They picked MSU to win or to cover in all those games. And it worked out in their favor until the Purdue game.
Sure. But that also, that's one where I think a lot of us saw the 4-win total and said that's low. Like, they've got a lot of talent coming in. Granted, they don't know how it's going to mesh, but if you really had a good hunch that they're being undervalued, I can almost see that in a sense of, yeah, they're taking all these points and thinking they're going to be a good team. Okay. But I wouldn't say that's a winning strategy. That is the outlier, I'm guessing. I don't think there's probably a lot of history of success doing something like that.
No. The reason that we know about those notable bets is because they do not happen often. If they happened a lot, we would not have examples.
Exactly.
For sure. All right. Stepping away from college football, I just like the people to know we attempted to record a podcast a week ago, right after the NBA draft lottery, and yours truly struggled a little bit with technology, and that never came off. So I do want to talk briefly NBA draft lottery. The Pistons are in the 5th position. Of course, they're falling back to that spot. And the top 3 in the draft, the 3 that the Pistons were really hoping to get, and a lot of Pistons are hoping to get, probably not going to be there, obviously. So Drew, real quick, where does that leave the Pistons? Who's kind of I don't know, there's not a favorite for the 5th pick technically, but who could be there for them based on the odds?
I mean, obviously, with losing out of those top 3 is a big thing, because they could really use that one of the forwards. That's a big weakness for them right now, having a forward that can get to the rim, be a reliable scorer. So right now, you're probably looking a little bit more at the guards. Ivy obviously is a big option there. One of the favorites outside of the forwards in the draft pools. There's still a forward from Iowa, Keegan Murray, that might be a possibility there. He fits a little bit of the mold, but isn't quite the power forward that maybe they're looking for. I do think one of the interesting things is also going to be where Jeremy Grant fits in this, because there's still some potential that they could trade him. And I've seen that pick up in the last 24 hours, where there's teams inside the top 10 that maybe are looking for a veteran scorer that could really play right away and add a lot to the team. So if the Pistons play it right, there might be an option to really add another high pick and then maybe take those picks and go get one of those forwards. So I actually think there's still a lot on the table for them right now. So I don't know that there's going to be a commitment to one player. I think they're going to be aggressive in this draft if there's a possibility to be aggressive, because I really think they see that this year, with that high pick and the free agency money that they're willing to spend, that they can really make a move for next season.
Yeah, the tricky thing at 5, I think, is, like you said, you're missing out on Smith, Banchero, and Chet Holmgren. Like, you're not getting one of those 3, right? And then the other thing that they really need is like a consistent knockdown shooter to put around Cade Cunningham. And I don't know if there's one that's worthy of the 5th pick necessarily. So that's they're a little bit in a middle area. I have fallen in love with Shaedon Sharpe just because it took me.
You got the highest ceiling because we don't really know what his ceiling is.
Exactly. So in a week, I've allowed the internet to talk me into him being the right pick. No, I have no idea. I don't know what they're going to do here. I've obviously not seen him play. The Kentucky freshman who never saw the floor because of eligibility stuff. But he is one that is up there.
I'm sure there's going to be some scuttlebutt coming from the combine. The Pistons were allowed to talk to 6 prospects. So I think once we see maybe who they spoke to, kind of dug in a little deeper, that might give us a little better idea of what they're thinking. Because when you're in the 5th spot, narrowing 6 guys down, that it doesn't seem like it'd be that hard, but I think it is. I mean, there's really a lot of ways that this could go. I mean, if one of those 3 forwards falls to them, I think that's an easy choice, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
I agree. Last thing before we get out of your hair today, Drew and I, of course, recorded a video as the NFL draft was going on, reacting to the Detroit Lions draft. And for those of you who watched it, and a lot of people have watched it, and we very much appreciate all of the people who have taken time to watch that video because it's long.
Do you think people are hate watching it at this point?
Well, that's what we're about to get into. Hold on. Yeah, so we were not in the moment, not huge fans of the Lions trading up to come get Jameson Williams, the wide receiver out of Alabama. And before I get into other people's thoughts on what our thoughts, Drew, I know for me personally, I had no idea as we were recording. I did not know what the trade was, just because of the situation where I was sitting and what I could see. You didn't either. Nope. So that was a big part of it too. I was just kind of processing, taking Williams as a receiver who, like you've mentioned, 4th receiver off the board, coming off of an ACL injury. There were some concerns there. I've come around a little bit on it just because I think that their draft overall was good. And I do think that the trade was good. Looking back on the trade now, they did not really give up much of anything. I'm still a little bit worried about the whole coming off an injury thing. He's not very big. That worries me, but he's really fast and he's fun. So I don't hate it. And I don't think that I'm in the same spot that I was draft night. So with some hindsight, that's where I'm at now. How about you? Have you changed your tone at all from rolling around on your couch or whatever it was that you were doing when it happened?
Collectively, I like what the Lions did in the draft. I think they addressed a lot of issues. I think they got a lot of quality players, especially guys that I think fit into their locker room mindset very well. Again, at the time, trading up 20 spots was the last thing I expected, or 2 going into it wanted. As a diehard Lions fan, I want success so badly, and I have mapped it out in my head how I feel it can work. And this is a rookie quarterback contract situation. So for me, knowing they weren't in love with any of the quarterbacks in this draft, my focus was this draft needs to be used to build toward making sure next year we get the quarterback we want, 2, they step into a very good position. Now, I think they did do that in this draft, but in the moment, trading from 32 to 12, the first thing that came into my mind is, oh my God, we just traded a 1st-round pick next year. And if we would have done that, I would have lost my mind, because we need all that draft capital to make any moves necessary to get into one of those spots, to get one of these top quarterbacks. Because again, looking at the schedule and stuff, I feel like they're going to be a competitive team. I don't think they're going to be like one of the worst teams in the league this year. So I think they're going to have to trade a lot of that draft capital to get that quarterback. Now, with that said, even trading out of 32, I was still hoping they could trade back to get more draft capital for next year. So that was also part of my disappointment. But Jameson Williams, seeing him on film, obviously an outstanding talent. If that guy that I've seen on film becomes a Detroit Lion, it's an outstanding addition to this roster. Injury is a big concern. If he tears that knee again, that can be a career-ending situation. That's a big concern. But I also don't think Jameson Williams is built for Jared Goff. I'm hoping he's being added for next year's.
Possibly his quarterback in college.
Jared Goff is not somebody who's going to be able to utilize what Jameson Williams brings to the field with speed. Now, if he's truly the next Tyreek Hill, fantastic. But keep in mind, Brad Holmes also just got an outstanding wide receiver out of a 4th-round pick too. So it's not to say you can't find solid talent later on in the draft as well. So I like it. I like Jameson Williams. I'm not in love with what they did still. Brad Holmes is definitely going to be tied to Jameson Williams now. Like, if it works out, he's going to look amazing. If it doesn't, it's a big strike against him. So they didn't do anything to risk my personal hope for what they do. So now I'm okay with it. But all of you people who think I'm an idiot, I will just say, I want to see your live video reaction, seeing him move up 20 spots, and tell me what you were thinking before, one, even knowing who the pick was, or two, knowing what the trade ended up being. Because that was where everything was at for me. Even after the pick was made, it still was hard to comprehend just what the trade was. And, just hearing ACL injury just reminds me of Ryan Broyles from a few years ago. So there was a lot going on, but ultimately when I take a step back, I think it was a good draft. And I think it was another 2 straight years of them building for next year's draft, which is really where I'm targeting. I don't care if they go New Orleans Saints and trade everything they got to get that pick for a quarterback.
Yeah, and the quarterbacks are there next year. I think, Bryce Young, like I mentioned, who was Jameson Williams' college quarterback, CJ Stroud, who actually, I guess, got to be in the same building as him too when he was at when they were both at Ohio State for a year, even though neither were really playing a ton. I do want to read this one though. There are several comments on this video. None of them think that we're good.
But you know what? I will say this. Thank you for commenting.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fun. It was fun to get the email.
I like to see what you think of this one.
This one came in like Sunday night. Must have been Monday morning. So I'm just going to read this one, Drew. And I'm going to read it as it is written and punctuated. You guys are crazy. That was aggressive, and he's the fastest wide WR in this class, and the one WR who Aaron Rodgers says is the most NFL ready, and you only give up 3rd round pick. You just swap 32 for 12 and 34 for 46. So all it cost us was a 3rd round pick, and it doesn't matter. We need all the weapons we can get. Jared Goff needs all the help he can get.
I mean,
I don't think he's wrong.
He makes some points, but again,
I don't care about Aaron Rodgers' opinion. I want to just throw that out there, first of all.
Well, sure. He commented Sunday, which was
that's exactly it.
That 6 weeks after that. How many weeks has it been since the draft? I mean, like you've had 3, 4, whatever weeks to process this whole thing. I was reacting in the moment.
It's been nearly a month.
And if you polled 1,000 Lions fans and said, do you think they will, 1, trade up 20 spots, 2, draft Jameson Williams? I don't think any of us saw that coming at all. That wasn't on the radar at all. So it was bold. It was a bold move. And I respect Brad Holmes doing what he feels is best for this franchise and taking it. And clearly it shows also that the ownership is letting him do his thing, which is good. That's what's needed. But yeah, it was not on my radar, and I don't think it was on a Lions fans' radar. So it was shocking, but yeah, hindsight being 2020, was it as bad as I reacted to it? No, it wasn't. But it's still a very risky move, and how it will be judged over the long haul of Lions history is very yet to be determined. I don't think you can. It's not a slam dunk. Jameson Williams is going to be Tyreek Hill. And I think to make a move like that, you almost have to be, you've got to be a pretty solid player to warrant that decision.
Yeah. They're built very differently, I think, Tyreek Hill and Jameson Williams. I will say that comment came from Jay Will fan. So,
well, probably
I'm glad that Jameson Williams' mother watched.
Yeah. Welcome to the
Detroit.
Ask. And, hey, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be the biggest Jameson Williams fan there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this is nothing to do with Jameson Williams. No. This is everything about the vision I've been waiting, since I knew the Stafford thing wasn't just going to work out in Detroit. This is what I've been waiting for years. So,
yeah. And Drew said this, we very much appreciate everybody taking the time to watch the video and comment. We're just having fun. Please continue commenting.
If you want to make fun of me every time, please do.
Please do.
I got a laugh out of some of them.
Start taking shots at our appearance.
Yeah. Personal,
possibly.
Real personal, deep shots at me.
Yeah. The deeper and harsher you can
Just
get,
cut like a knife into me.
So with that, now that we've invited the wrath of the internet onto us, that's all we got. Thank you for sitting through another video with us. We're going to make these pretty regular now going forward. We got some things to talk about. We know how to do it. Hopefully I don't crash the video when I download it.
Hopefully you get to see what we're saying right now.
Yes, hopefully this makes it. If you got this far, yeah. All right. So I'm Paul Costanzo. That's Drew Ellis. We'll see you next time on a podcast presented by PlayMichigan.